Hey everyone, FinTech here. The metaverse is shaping up to become one of the most significant investing trends of the next decade. And with companies like Facebook, Nike, and Microsoft starting to throw their weight behind the latest investing buzzword, now is a better time than ever to start looking at how we can get in on this opportunity early to make some money. And while I've already talked about what stocks I would invest in for the metaverse, I think the larger play here is actually in crypto. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a brief overview of what the metaverse is and what it has to do with cryptos in the first place. Then I'm going to go through 3 different metaverse crypto plays ranging from relatively safe bets to the huge risk, high return YOLOs that are going to be available in the space. And while I can't recommend that you invest in any of these cryptos, I think they are all worth knowing about and looking into. Because like with every new opportunity, there will almost certainly be a chance to make above average returns here if you're lucky. So hit the like button if you want, and let's start by talking about what the metaverse actually is. So you may be familiar with the idea of a metaverse from Ready Player One, where people can enter an entire virtual reality world complete with its own economy and become a completely different person. And the term metaverse dates back to the 1992 science fiction book Snow Crash. But the metaverse we're talking about today isn't science fiction. It's been happening all around us for the past 3 or 4 years. We've seen more and more things that used to only exist in the physical world slowly start to move into the digital world. Just look at how our concept of digital ownership has changed with NFTs, where people will pay huge amounts for digital goods like artwork or music, or how some people in video games like Roblox make real money selling digital goods, which is how you end up with people like this guy, Linkmon99, who has 140 million Robux, equivalent to around 1.7 million US dollars that he could use in real life. I knew I should have spent more time playing video games growing up. But if we really wanted a concrete definition of the metaverse, it's a digital world that slowly ports in more and more parts of our physical world in deeper and deeper ways. Virtual reality is part of that, but it's only a small part ultimately. VR moves our subjective experience into the digital world. NFTs do this for ownership, and fintechs and DeFi are doing this for the economy. So while there are a lot of companies focusing on that experience part of the metaverse, most of the real money to be made in the metaverse is in the economy itself. If you log in to, say, Facebook's metaverse through an Oculus headset and buy a couch for your virtual living room, who owns that couch? Is it locked into the Facebook ecosystem, or is it stored as an NFT on the blockchain, allowing you to move your couch with you when you go from, say, Facebook's ecosystem to Apple's, or when you move your couch into your favorite video game like your house in Minecraft? There are kind of 2 trains of thought here for what the metaverse will look like. One is a walled garden, where anything you own in the metaverse is locked behind a specific company's paywalls. Think when you download an app on your iPhone, you own it, but only as long as you're using an iPhone. The other school of thought is a fully open and decentralized system of ownership. Maybe companies like, say, Louis Vuitton can sell you branded digital goods, but once you buy them, you own it forever via an NFT. And then you can transfer that good to whatever platform you want. I think this second possibility is much more enticing and also a lot more likely. Just think of it like the physical world. Do you think as many people would buy $500 Gucci shoes if they were only allowed to wear them in one building and not ever take them out? No, because you can't flex on nearly as many people if you're constricted to a single location. And the same thing applies if that location is digital. So now, assuming we are going to see this decentralized metaverse start to emerge, what cryptos do I think give the best exposure to take advantage of that? Well, my first pick is going to be Polkadot. Polkadot is a crypto network created by Gavin Wood, one of the original founders of Ethereum. Polkadot is part of the 3rd generation of crypto, going beyond Bitcoin as a currency or Ethereum as a development platform, and creating a blockchain of blockchains. This is a fundamental shift in the way we think about blockchains, which historically have been great at decentralized trust, but have been horrible at adding new features and adapting to the needs of the market over time. With Polkadot, you can launch new blockchains on top of the Polkadot blockchain, allowing you to add new functionality over time and slowly improve the ecosystem. Every time a new blockchain gets added, it's almost like a Pokemon evolving and gaining new abilities that it can use. Because of this somewhat somewhat unique ability for Polkadot to host other blockchains, it can almost act like an internet of blockchains. In the same way that we had computers back in the 1960s, but they weren't nearly as useful as they are today since they couldn't connect with each other. Polkadot will unlock massive value when different blockchains can communicate with each other, which will be absolutely essential if we plan to have a metaverse in the future that is both decentralized, able to be accessed by different types of technology, and improves over time. But that's just the technology argument for Polkadot. We also need to look at it from an investment perspective. I picked Polkadot specifically rather than another token such as Cosmos because of how DOT token appreciates in value as new projects are added to the chain. See, with something like Cosmos, you can build new blockchains using the Cosmos SDK, but this doesn't provide any direct benefit to the Atom token that runs Cosmos. Polkadot, on the other hand, uses an auction system to raffle off access to a slot to build new projects on the platform roughly every week. So only the community that is willing to lock up the most DOT during the 96-week lockup period gets to build into the Polkadot ecosystem. And what happens when you lock up large amounts of DOT for an extended period of time? Well, you decrease the supply, theoretically increasing its price. Plus, if you are a DOT holder, you can also put your DOT behind one of these projects and get paid out rewards if they win an auction, in some cases allowing you to make well over 100% returns in a relatively short period of time. Bia Heza actually did a really good video showing how easy it is even for someone with no technical knowledge to create his own blockchain and get a bunch of people to start investing in it. So the fact that Polkadot restricts which new blockchains can be added to their ecosystem can also act as a filter for bad crypto projects, making it easier for uninformed users to know that they can trust the Polkadot cryptos with their built-in credibility. This all adds up to making me personally very bullish on the Polkadot ecosystem overall. But now let's look at a much more speculative metaverse play that could also pay out a lot more if it's successful. And that is the wild world of virtual real estate. Decentraland is one of the #1 names in virtual real estate, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an online world where you can buy plots of land using cryptocurrencies, which you can then use to build pretty much whatever you want on top of. Plots toward the middle of town tend to be more expensive, but even plots on the border are going for around 42,000 mana. Mana is the currency used in Decentraland, and it fuels everything from the transactions to the DAO, or Decentralized Autonomous Organization, that governs all the contracts within Decentraland. The DAO allows the Decentraland community to create rules for the world based on the votes of the holders. That way, the owners of Decentraland are the people who own plots there. 42,000 mana, by the way, is the equivalent to around $180,000. So clearly there's a lot of money being thrown around here. But while you might be tempted to dismiss this as rampant speculation or a money grab by Decentraland's owners in response to NFT hype, Decentraland has actually been around for a few years. The BBC even reported on it in a story back in 2018. Plus, Tokens.com recently acquired a 50% stake in the Metaverse Group, who has their virtual headquarters in Decentraland. So big companies are starting to place sizable bets on this concept. But even with all that, if you're at all like me, you're probably a little skeptical about buying virtual real estate. After all, with a real house, you can at least live in it if it doesn't go up in value. But with a virtual house, you can sit back and look at it wistfully on a screen until that screen gets destroyed by rain since you can't afford a roof over your head. But there are other non-crypto examples of similar experiments working out in the past. I think back to the $1 Million homepage, where an English university student sold individual pixels on his site to the highest bidder. Some individuals bought pixels just for fun, but some large companies like casinos and tech companies bought pixel real estate on this page as advertising, and the creator ended up making $1 million in total from selling off pieces of the site. Similarly, we're seeing big brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Nike getting into the world of NFTs by selling their brand as digital clothing. So it's not unreasonable to think that these brands might want to own high-traffic virtual locations, the same way they try to do in busy shopping districts around the world. We can even look at virtual real estate like domain names. Why is a .com website more valuable than a .io website? Well, because more people are familiar with .com and use it. So if Decentraland or competitors like CryptoVoxels or Superworld can become the go-to place in the metaverse, that alone can make their real estate valuable. Plus, if we get to the point where billionaires hang out in, say, virtual lounges in the metaverse, there's a value to the savvy business person in just being in the same room as a billionaire, which is partly why so many talented people in the real world tend to cluster in single cities like Silicon Valley or Austin, and why rich people go to sporting events they're clearly not interested in, looking for the networking and clout. Poor Kanye. So you can buy Decentraland plots on the secondary market on their website that I'm showing here. You can also buy land in Superworld, which has 64.5 billion plots that are mapped onto a real scan of the world. These are obviously going to be a lot cheaper since there's so many of them, and you can get one for around 0.1 ETH, or about $4,000. But to emphasize, buying virtual real estate is a very speculative investment, more than normal cryptos. It's not just a coin flip, it's like sitting there in poker waiting to flop a straight flush on the last card. There's almost certainly going to be both irrational exuberance and irrational fear at different times in this market, but if you're looking for that next roulette wheel that will doubtlessly create some millionaires overnight and cost others a lot of money, this might be that opportunity. But now let's swing the pendulum from that more speculative side, since the third crypto to invest in the metaverse is Ethereum. And while this may seem like an obvious choice, there are some surprising reasons that Ethereum stands out in the metaverse space. Now, a lot of people may already know some of the advantages of Ethereum. It is one of the largest cryptocurrencies, it has the largest developer community of any crypto, and many of the crypto concepts that we've already discussed, such as NFTs behind virtual real estate and smart contracts, run on the Ethereum blockchain. So as more people start to build creative use cases for NFTs, you can bet that the first place they're going to launch them will be on the Ethereum network. But up until very recently, Ethereum has had some major drawbacks compared to something like Polkadot. It's relatively slow, only processing 30 transactions per second, and it still uses a proof of work model, meaning to mine Ether, you need to use a lot of high-powered GPU farms that use up tons of electricity. And it's been slower to add new changes and improvements over time. But Ethereum has recently begun their long-awaited rollout of Ethereum 2, which will completely change the way we use Ethereum. Ethereum 2 will allow an increase in speeds from 30 transactions per second to over 100,000 transactions per second. It will also change the Ether token economy, making it deflationary rather than inflationary, while switching to a much more energy-efficient proof-of-stake model, meaning anyone who has environmental concerns with cryptos should be more willing to try it. And if that alone weren't enough to drive more people into Ethereum as the metaverse starts to take off, Ethereum 2 also includes a new shards model, meaning other cryptos can run on shards that kind of roughly imitate what Polkadot is doing, which at the very least should allow them to more quickly iterate for continuous improvements in the future. So in a world where the metaverse is not locked down to a particular company's ecosystem, where it looks more like an open internet and less like an app store, Ethereum could potentially act as the backbone for the entire thing. And with case law starting to come out preventing big tech companies from enforcing pseudo-monopolies even within their own app stores, this future is seeming more and more likely. So of all of these possible investments, Ethereum seems by far the least risky to me, even though the sheer size of their existing market cap makes it less likely to be a moonshot than some of the other options that I mentioned. But let me know in the comments which of these three crypto plays you're most likely to invest in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.